Whether it's a grass fire or a raging forest, fighting fire is a risky business.
The definition of risk is essentially severity combined with probability. What are the chances something bad could happen, and how bad could it be?
As human beings, we tend to be optimistic, and we don't tend to think about bad consequences. We think about what we can achieve. Part of this process looks at both. What is it we want to achieve, but what could happen on the negative side?
It comes down to people's lives, and there's nothing more important than that. If we are not able to make sure that we can do our job as safely as possible, then it's not worth doing at all.
To make sure safety really comes first, Pacific Northwest Team 3 is using what we call the deliberate risk assessment process.
We use the term deliberate intentionally because we want to sit down with the people that have ability to influence an outcome, and we think about what it is we're going to go out and do that day.
And we deliberately go through each mission and talk about the risks that firefighters will be exposed to, and we try to quantify those risks.
As far as the use of the aircraft, type of aircraft.
An assessment is made for each mission, whether it's using helicopters to drop water or retardant, or it's firefighters using drip torches to create a barrier between the wildfire and threatened communities.
We always take risk when we fight fire. This is about balancing risk. So what we want to ensure we do is when we take a risk, that risk is on par with the value that we're trying to protect.
The values firefighters work to protect will vary with each fire, but lives are always the first priority. Homes and businesses, agriculture, timber, watersheds, recreation, and wildlife are others.
So we use this process to try, to the degree we can, to only expose our firefighters to necessary risk.
Part of taking the necessary risks is a hard look at our odds for the success of any action, be that a bulldozer line or retardant drop.
Is this mission going to have 50-50 probability of being successful, or is there another option that has a predicted probability of success at 75% and reduces exposure to firefighters?
Exposure is anything that could get people hurt, the consequence of things going wrong.
The consequence run from minor to catastrophic. Minor being I twist a knee, catastrophic means we have a fatality typically.
So we try to choose the option that has the highest probability of success with the lowest exposure to firefighters.
Helicopters making retardant drops is just one example of a mission that goes through the assessment process.
Are they going to pull water out of a lake where they have a fairly large open area to dip from? Are they trying to pull water out of a small container where they have to hover in a tight spot? Are they flying over country where if they have a mechanical problem, there are lots of landing spots? Or are they flying over steep ridges with continuous timber where if they have a problem, there is no landing spot, there's just a spot to crash?
So, knowing that the chances of it happening are very small, but if it does happen, it's going to be very significant. That helps us understand what this will really look like should that event occur. And that gives us the opportunity then to say to each other, is it worth it?
This deliberate process is not static nor merely top-down from boss to worker. The incident commander continually consults with local land managers, landowners, and communities about current objectives. And team members talk with pilots and firefighters about the tactics and the risks of the tactics being used to meet those objectives.
Now we use this process to drive the decision making. We don't make the decision up front and then try to lower the risk. We look at the various options and select the one with the lowest risk and highest probability of success.
Although we are being very deliberate in how we approach the job of taming a wildfire, we know we can't avoid risk altogether. Protecting lives and property from wildfires will always be dangerous work. But we think it's worthwhile to pause and ask each time, is there a better way? And is it worth the risk?
That's why this is important, to know that we're looking at that, we're taking a hard look at what we can do, and doing everything we can do.
I think what I've seen change or evolve over my career is a real desire that we really understand what the risk is and why we're taking that risk.
It comes down to people's lives, and there's nothing more important than that. No tree, no house, no road is worth that. So we want to make sure that we're making that solid, good decision that's well informed to mitigate any chance of somebody not being able to go home to their family at night.